Hey, today is Monday, September 13th. This is Talent Talk, and I am Jurgen, and with me I have two co-hosts.
Your boy Steve. Happy Monday, everybody.
And
Good
happy
morning,
Monday. Good
Good morning,
morning.
Davina.
How are you guys? I'm not wearing my John L. Scott shirt today. I feel so out of place.
Yeah, why is that?
It's dirty. No, I'm just kidding. I guess no one would know, right? You can't smell through the screen. I have a few that I rotate, and then I'm just like, okay. So
Don't worry, I kind of doubled up. I went with the hat head today too.
Yeah.
So.
The hat.
Yeah. Good morning, Pat.
Hey, Pat. How are you?
Hey.
Hey. So.
All right. So today for Talent Talk, on Talent Talks on Mondays, we have a guest typically on. Occasionally we might do a little trivia or something else, but today we have a guest, and this is Realtor Safety Month, the month of September. And good morning, Donna. With this being Realtor Safety Month, we are actually in our inside of our brokerage. We are going to be doing a class on the 21st. And Davina, what is the class that we're going to be doing on the 21st?
It is in conjunction with Realtor Safety Month, which is September. We are in the thick of it. We wanted to bring back a gentleman who had previously done a class for us, and we've gotten to know him even through our realtor organization. And we're going to be doing a realtor safety class on the 21st, and this professional, like, he is a professional safety expert, is going to be coming in and talking with us about how to be safe in the business. We typically take a lot of things for granted, being realtors, and we're very vulnerable because we're out and about with people we don't know all the time. And so.
Davina, I've seen realtor safety classes before, and they're boring. And Steve, is this realtor safety class boring?
Not at all. Not at all. I'm excited. I'm excited to attend the class. I'm excited for our guest that we're bringing on today, because as well as being a great instructor, he has a lot of great information, especially dealing with realtor safety and just being safe out there. I mean, things we have to deal with other than selling properties and working with buyers, sellers, all that other stuff. But it's also working with the public and people that you're meeting for the first time. Just things to be aware of.
Yeah. And, with this, something like this can be really dry and can really be effort and work to go through. You look out for this. Man, this is on, what day is this? It's on the 21st. Is that right?
Tuesday, the 21st. We got a 3 clock hour training class. Action.
Okay. And is it only for our brokerage, or are other realtors able to sign up and attend? Like, which office is it in?
This will be held in our Olympia office location, and it is open to everyone, all real estate brokers. It's geared specifically to real estate brokers, but it's open to everyone.
Excellent. So, Jared, on the background, if you could get that link up inside to let people know. And as we do that, we have a little quiz, right? A little trivia before we get into introducing our guest. So who wants to read this? It's right here.
Trivia question. So according to a survey by the NAR, what percentage of realtors said that they have experienced a situation that made them fear for their safety? That's a great question.
That really is a great question. And you know what? I do not know the answer to this question.
No.
We have some selections, though.
45, 33%, or 50%.
What about you guys? Have you can you remember a time you feared for your safety beyond a haunted house?
I actually, yeah. have
Was it
had
the
one.
ghost in the dishwasher, Steve?
No, that wasn't the scary one. That was just more of an odd one.
I remember that.
No, that's true.
Yeah. I have to say that there were some situations where I was like, I kind of had that, should I really? And I actually did make a call saying, hey, just wanted to let you guys know where I mean, like, over the years, and I can't think of specifically something that just like really threw me like this is just like, oh my gosh, I'll never do this again kind of thing. But there have been some instances where, okay, this is a dark street. This house is, I'm turning on all the lights. I'm parking in a certain way because I'm like, so, but.
You know what? Pat said B, 45%. Donna is guessing C, or excuse me, D, 50%. And when I look at that question, I think when we introduce our guests here in just a moment, that after the conversation, through awareness, I think this number probably should be higher than 45, because it's, again, how many have experienced a situation that made them fear for their safety, wherein if we're better aware of our surroundings and we'd be more on guard of watching for it. I think we get lulled into a sense of security that sometimes, and that's where things happen. And I'm sure our guests will enlighten us a little more on that. So with no further ado, with this being Realtor Safety Month, we want to bring in our guest. He is he's a lender with Fairway, but as we talk about his background, you'll understand why him and Realtor Safety and that awareness is such a really good fit. So with no further ado, I want to introduce to you Amit Baruch.
Good morning.
Good morning,
everybody.
Good morning, Amit.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. It's so good to see everybody. Thank you for inviting me on. Thank you for the promotion, the kind words, and for the opportunity to work with you guys and do some training next week. Really excited to be part of that. And I agree that number is probably a lot lower than it should be. I think that a lot of people probably don't even know how close they came to being in a bad spot and just were not even aware enough to realize that they were in a bad spot. So I would say that was probably closer to 100% if you could have such a thing.
Yeah. Like if we've shown enough homes, been around enough people, our awareness, the hairs on the back of our head should be up a little more than they are, right?
Absolutely. And quite frankly, this is not just specific to real estate brokers and realtors. This safety is a thing for everybody. Whatever your walk of life, whatever your work, wherever you spend your time, there's always that element of awareness and intuition that should be at the foremost of our thoughts. And that's one of the things Steve had posted a question there. What are the top 3 tips that I would recommend, whether you're a new realtor, whether you're seasoned, even if you're not even in the industry, you should be in the industry, but even if you're not, I think first things first, awareness. If we're not
wait, hold on. Amit, before you say those yet, because that's our little teaser. That is why they're going to hang on. They want to know those 3 tips, right?
Okay.
But before, one of the things is we know you a bit because we've had you in and you are fantastic. I mean, from energy, from knowledge, and actually walking away with usable information. It's not just book information. It's actionable information. The moment we're done, or even through the class, we can walk away with a higher awareness. But for somebody to actually want to hear what you have to say, sometimes they need to know a little bit about who you are. So could you tell us a little about your background, who you are, and why this means what it does to you?
Of course. Thank you for bringing me back on track here. As I mentioned, I came in from out of town, so I'm a little bit foggy, a little bit sleepy, but in a past life, when I was a much younger person, I worked for the Israeli government. I was part of the security detail at a consulate. So basically, our job was to anticipate anything that could go wrong and prepare for that in advance of it actually happening, so that we had 99% boredom and 1% terror. as opposed to all the things that could happen and not being prepared for that. So we did a lot of work in advance. We prepared ourselves. We thought through things. We did route planning. We did event planning. We would go to these locations where the dignitaries and the politicians that we protected were going to be speaking and meeting people, and look for things that like, oh, this is a really bad spot right here. We want to avoid this area. Or where's the back door? Where's the secondary back door? How do we get, if we have to evacuate quickly, how do we do that? Where do we go? So that was part of my youth, and it was a great experience, to be honest with you. When you're younger, you can do that. Your knees are strong, and your back is good. Everything's great. But along the way, I did a lot of training with hand-to-hand combat, with firearms, with other weapons that were part of the job. And since that time, you could take the boy out of the job, but you can't take the job out of the boy. So I am a martial arts instructor. I teach Krav Maga, which is the Israeli military hand-to-hand combat system. And I teach that to civilians, but I also teach that to law enforcement officers. I work with bodyguards, executive protection teams. I'm one of about 100 civilians that is licensed through Krav Maga worldwide to deliver this kind of training to law enforcement officers. So in my interactions with people in that job, I see a lot of horrible things. I hear a lot of horrible things. We talk about the dangers of the work and the reality of our society right now, which is really on edge. And so I thought that I should take this information and bring it to the real estate world. As Davina mentioned, y'all meet what your parents told you not to do. You guys are doing that. So how do we do it safely? How do we balance your safety, which is really important, with your sales, which is also important, because you could be a shut-in and see nobody, do nothing, and you'll be 100% safe, but you'll have zero sales. So that doesn't really help either. And that's where I come in. I want to make it practical for people. I want to make it easy for people to implement, but not put so much fear in people's minds that they don't want to go anywhere or that they don't want to do this job.
Great.
So I'm thinking this we all have our biases, and we have labels and things like that. Now I'm going to go somewhere with this. And when we talk about realtor safety, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the men seem to have that persona of, I'm big, I'm strong, I can protect myself, right? And so like when we talk about realtor safety, it's almost like women are like, okay, I really, like the guys are like, okay, go, this is for you ladies, kind of thing. And maybe I'm a little off here, but what am I off, or is this kind of like I'm not off?
No, Davina, this is obviously a class I don't need.
Okay, but so can you talk to us about the gender thing? Like, does it matter? Like, who is at risk? Are women more of a target? Are men more of a target? Or if you're older, or if you appear to talk to us about who really is at risk.
Sure, that's a great question, and I really appreciate it, because I saw something online a while back. It was some kind of survey, and the men who were questioned on this survey thought that they could fight off a gorilla or a lion. I mean, I'm talking about real beasts of the jungle, and these, like, silverback gorilla weighs 800 pounds and can rip your arms off without even thinking about it. And yes, these guys who are hanging out, not lifting weights, not training, but I'm a man. And so I've got this built-in sort of thing that means that I know how to fix cars, I know how to lift weights, and I know how to shoot guns, because that's just part of my DNA. None of that is true. None of that is accurate. And it puts a lot of men into a really false sense of security that leaves them vulnerable. So everybody, in my opinion, has some sort of blind spot to these sorts of things. Women are actually more attuned to it, because as we start to grow and, once we hit puberty and realize that, like, the men in their world are huge by comparison to some of these women. The men have these huge growth spurts. The ladies are smaller, they're diminutive, they don't have the same sort of muscle. And all of a sudden they realize, like, wow, some guy, like even in my family, can just pick me up like I'm nothing, like, a sack of potatoes. And so from an early age, women develop a more mature, more intuitive sort of understanding of their potential for being in trouble. Men, our ego prevents that from happening, which is really unfortunate because it's super dangerous. We're all at risk. Women more so because, first of all, residential real estate tends to be a field dominated by women. It also happens to be something that people enter into as a second career. So we tend to be older, which means that we're not as fast, we're not as strong. And all of these things are attractive to the criminal mind that's looking for an easy target of opportunity. And that's what I refer to as real estate. It's crime by appointment. Someone makes an appointment with you, they know exactly what to expect. They know what you look like. They can stalk you on social media. They can see exactly what you're posting and whatever it is. And we don't think about things like that. Like if I get a new follower on Facebook, I'm like, oh, good. I got somebody who wants to do business with me. I want somebody who wants to learn more about me. Not necessarily someone who wants to see what I'm posting and what kind of weaknesses I have, what kind of skills I have, what kind of firearms I don't post any pictures like that, but a lot of people do. And so we're all at risk. I would say women more so for physical harm, like sexual assault and things of that nature. Men also at risk for that, but more for crime, like property crime. People post all of their fine jewelry or their new car or whatever it is, and that's extremely attractive to the criminal element. So we're all at risk. Women, I think, are better at just accepting that fact and preparing for it a little bit better. That's why I'd like to see more men come to these classes, but most men are like, hey man, I'm a guy, I know how to fight. Well, yeah, when was the last time you were in a fight? 3rd grade. Awesome. Great. And how did that turn out for you? Well, we started pushing each other and then the school teacher broke it up, thank goodness, right? And there's you can feel that relief in their voice, like, thank God I didn't have to throw that punch because I don't know how to do it. But, I'm a man, so I have an ego to protect.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a whole lot. I mean, I'm learning a lot just right now.
There's so much to it. There's so much to it. And one of the things, I do want to come back to these top 3 tips, but I want to focus on one in particular, which is layers. Layers, think about it like when you're going in the mountains. You have no idea what the weather's going to be like. You have no idea if it's going to be raining up top, if it's going to be snowing up top, windy, whatever it is. So you pack and you wear layers, and you can moderate your clothing based on what you're dealing with in the elements. Well, safety is the same thing. We have, as a society, as people in general, we have this desire to check a box and say, okay, I did that one thing, I'm good. And a lot of times that comes in the form of, with safety at least, a weapon. I've got my pepper spray, or I've got a gun, or whatever it is. And as a result of that, that makes me safe. Have you trained with that pepper spray? Absolutely not. Do you even know how it works? No, but I got it, so I'm good. And what I tell people is that it comes in layers. So the more small things we do to protect us, to keep us safe from the elements, the more options we've got, and the better we're going to be suited to deal with whatever comes along, because we don't know. We really just have no idea what's waiting out there for us, just like the weather. But I feel that if you have a lot of different small things, remember, I want to balance your safety on one hand with your sales on the other hand. So we can't tip the scales all the way to safety and leave sales behind. We have to do small things that will not intrude on the selling process. And by adding a lot of these small things, we create a huge barrier between us and potential trouble. And it's a simple barrier. So if one thing goes sideways or another thing goes sideways, we still have, for the bulk of it, we're still okay. A lot of things are going to have to go bad if we've got a lot of barriers, a lot of layers before we're in real trouble. And that's what I want to share with your realtors, with whoever comes to these classes. It's like, how can I take as much of this information as makes sense to me, leave the stuff that you don't want on the side. If that's not for you, that's cool, but create enough layers so that you do come into a situation, whether you're selling real estate or going to the store or going out for a Saturday night. There's safety, still safety. And that's kind of And the goal of these classes is to teach people how to bring small things, small changes into their lives that they can manage and that they can add up and stack up, and they become really big things.
Hey, Amit, you talked about the layers, and I love that analogy that you used of layers and being able to just stack those up. What are maybe some of the, maybe thinking about real estate and realtor safety, maybe like the first layer, or maybe second layer that you could recommend to a broker?
Sure, absolutely. Like what we used to do for the Israeli consulate. You got to research. I know you guys are so busy. I work with a ton of real estate brokers in my my mortgage career, and I see how just you guys are busy. When you're with clients, you're with clients. You can't do other things, right? You're showing homes to this particular client. You're not taking calls or emails from other people, so your time is really limited. And this is going to put a burden on you. And I apologize in advance for that, because the truth of the matter is that it's up to us to be responsible for ourselves. And that responsibility takes time. But I would recommend researching who you're going to be meeting, researching where you're going to be going. Like what we used to do at the Israeli consulate. If we had an off-site event, man, we had weeks to prepare for that. I needed to figure out everything about that building. I needed to figure out, how do we get in? How do we get out? Where are the dangerous spots? Well, you guys don't have to be that thorough, but you can. You can research your potential clients, right? You can go on Facebook and see what they're all about. Go on Instagram, see what kind of pictures they're posting. I guarantee you, if you're posting pictures, or you see someone posting pictures with rifles and weirdness and just crazy sort of ideas, you may not want to take that client, or you may want to bring a friend to go with you for those meetings. Same thing with the homes that you might want to tour. Take a look and see what kind of property you're looking at. Is there a back door? Does that back door lead to a fenced backyard or a ravine where you're like, okay, I'm not coming out the back? These sorts of things just give you an idea of what you're getting into in advance of getting there, so that you can prepare a little bit more effectively for what happens if ... So that's the first layer, is really just researching as best you can and understanding what you're getting yourself into potentially. Beyond that, I would say I will teach you how to build your awareness. Come to the class. I will teach you how to build awareness, because everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm aware. Really? Are you? Because I see you like this in your phone. I don't think you're aware of anything, but okay, you tell me, how many fingers am I holding up? And people all of a sudden, and I don't do it to belittle anybody. We're all so used to doing certain things and to thinking we're completely safe because I'm at a Starbucks. What could possibly go wrong, or whatever it is? And so we just let our guard all the way down. And nobody teaches you how to be aware. Nobody teaches you. It's just like learning any other skill. I want to learn how to lift weights. I go see a trainer who's like, here's how you do it safely and properly. Well, same thing with awareness. It's one of those things, like any muscle, just needs to be trained and practiced. And I will show techniques and teach some things that people can do and that they can share with their kids and their loved ones about just how to live life a little bit more aware and alert to what's going on around us.
Amit, as you're talking, we had you in about now 2 years ago, and then we got the pandemic. We were just about to get to the physical class before,
Yes.
because you do a physical class, like a hands-on, where we really can engage in some of the more face-to-face things we might be encountered with. But as you were talking, so many of the things from the class that you did were just coming back to me about even how you coordinate a walkthrough, or setting things up to make sure that you're safe. And there's so many good things about that. And you're absolutely right. As a guy, I think guys have more scotomas, blind spots that they're not aware of, because they are taught, or oftentimes grow up thinking you're just because you're a guy, inherently things are different for you than they are for a woman, when they're really not. But we've conditioned ourselves to feel differently about the situations. I just remember how not only informational what you presented was, but you had a lot of different exercises to help bring the awareness around, just to help illustrate it. So it's not just, hey, words on a page, but this is kind of how it goes action wise. This is how easy it is to miss the things that are right in front of you. A moment ago, you were starting to talk about the top 3 tips. Did you? And the first one was the first tip layers, or what were the top 3 tips?
In no particular order. In no particular order, but I would say awareness is first. If you can't see it coming, all the defenses in the world are irrelevant. If you're not aware that you're in trouble, you're not prepared. And here's the thing: most of us are good, decent people. We vote. We probably pay our taxes. We don't think like the bad guys think. So we're not out there looking. The bad guys are out there scanning, looking for opportunities. And they're going to find the people that are unaware, that are distracted, that are, drunk, that are otherwise impaired. And so if you're not aware that you've been followed for the last 100 yards, you got a problem waiting to happen. You don't even know it. The other thing that I would add to that is intuition. This, going back to what Davina said, is intuition is so important, and women have that in spades. You ladies, you develop that sort of thing, and I think part of that has to do with the differences in physicality between the genders. But women have this great intuition that they feel something. Problem is that ladies especially have been conditioned to not trust that intuition, because it leads them down a path or it could lead them down a path, I should say, where they're impolite, where to act on that intuition requires you to do things or say things or be a person that you were told otherwise not to be. That old rhyme, sugar and spice and all things nice. That's something that ladies have been conditioned. Like, even if you feel intuitively like you are in a bad spot, you have to be polite about getting out of that bad spot. Fighting is not polite. Self-defense is not polite. It's very kinetic and it's very ugly. And those are things that people need to learn how to be comfortable with that. And not everybody can. I could teach you how to make a fist really easy. I can tell you how to punch somebody really easy. Teaching you how to do that first and how to do that violently, aggressively, that takes a lot of training. And so I would say, in no particular order, being aware, trusting your intuition, and then having enough layers between you and potential danger. I'll give you a quick example about the layers. This is one that we use all the time. I remember going to school and having fire drills. And we would do fire drills when the building was not on fire, because this is how you prepare yourself to evacuate a lot of screaming kids in a very short period of time. In all of my years of being alive, I'm 51 years old, I have yet to read a story about a school building catching on fire. Thank goodness, right? But they still do fire drills. And that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about with the awareness and with the preparation. So you prepare yourself in the hopes that you never have to do it. But once the building's on fire, learning a fire drill is irrelevant. At that point, it's, you just got to jump through a window or do whatever it is. So we want to prepare in advance of things happening. We want to think about what could happen, not to scare ourselves, but to be prepared for that, and then work through that so that we're trained and prepared to respond to it, whatever that might be. And in those layers, that's when that comes in handy. For some people, it could be, learning martial arts. For other people, it could be learning how to function with a taser or a pepper spray. Everything's a trade-off, though, in these things. And I'll review all that. There are no taboo subjects when it comes to self-defense, and I'm certainly not shy about sharing my experiences and my personal opinions on those things.
That's good. My brain kind of went to you. And originally when you talked about layers, I was thinking about, so you dress in layers. Like, I'll wear a few jackets so that if someone grabs a jacket, I can just slip out of it and be like, ha ha, or they catch me again, I got another jacket on. Ha, no. But my brain there, layers. But I think this is really good. I mean, and for the sake of time, and I had another question, but for the sake of time, I won't ask it, but we'll just kind of promo into the class that's coming up. And it's not just about the common sense and the awareness, right? And it's not just about the intuition. It couples all things with, there's the making, you talk about, getting yourself out of a bad situation, right? So you do everything you can to use your brain, but then you may have to use your body, right? And
Absolutely.
so that's what is the most uncomfortable part, is using your body, because we were taught, don't hit anyone, don't do this, don't do. And so what do you do if someone gets too close into your space and you feel like there's a threat? How do you neutralize the situation? And so that's what we really appreciate, is you give us those tips and you are really raw about it and you're really super funny about it. And it's interesting in the class, like people are like, yeah, like we're ready for the physical part, right?
I'm so ready to teach people how to punch other people. I can't contain myself. It's a great thing when you see people, and look, I don't encourage fighting. I think fighting, I have a friend who retired from SEAL Team 6, and he said it best. There's no winning. It's just degrees of losing. That's fighting. That is really fighting, whether it's a war or a personal battle with another person. There's no real winning. But having said that, I want to lose as little as possible. And so I love to teach people how to be physical, how to protect themselves, how to take ownership over their own self-defense and protecting others, and teach that in such a way that it's safe, first of all. But when that light bulb goes off and they realize that they're more capable than they thought they were of protecting themselves, that doesn't make us cage fighters. That doesn't mean that we're immune from mishap or pitfalls. It just means that suddenly you realize that you've got more power and skill and capability than you thought. And that opens up a tremendous amount of confidence. But in that conversation about layers, I do talk about weapons because they are equalizers. I mean, look, there's a reason why they have weight classes in professional fighting. You're not going to have somebody at 205 fighting somebody at 135. That's a horrible mismatch. But think about, what a man weighs in general versus what a woman weighs in general. Horrible mismatch. I would not want to be in a physical fight and be that much lighter than another person. So we talk about how do we equalize that. And one of those things is by using a tool like a weapon. But again, we have to do the right kind of tools. We have to learn how to work with them, first of all. We also have to balance the fact that my client, the real estate buyer, may not be all that thrilled if they found out that I've got a gun on my head. This is Western Washington, after all, and not everybody is comfortable with those sorts of things. So we have to find a balance, and I can discuss that. I'm more than happy to share my insights. It's not for everybody, fighting's not for everybody. I'll say one last thing about that. When people say, hey, what's the one thing that you can teach me right now to help me be safer and that I can practice at home? My answer is learn how to run. Learn how to run fast and far, because if you can outrun trouble, you're that much better off. And your fight, whatever that altercation looks like, ends with you running away to safety. I'm going to teach you how to do something physical that gives you a few extra moments to make your escape. But you're not going to be standing over that person like Muhammad Ali in that iconic photo after he knocked out his rival. And it doesn't work like that. We're not in a ring sport. We're in trouble, and trouble doesn't end until you're home safely. So running is one of the things that I would recommend everybody practice. Get your shoes on, figure out how to run. And if you're wearing high heels, maybe you may not want to wear high heels because they're hard to run in.
I'm really glad. And before turning it over to Steve to maybe close out here, that was one thing. I love the direction Davina went with the question, just about the self-defense portion of it. And there are situations where you won't be able to not have to. You could be confined, or something else could occur where you have to find a way to fight out. But all the three tips you gave between awareness, intuition, and layers really are there. It feels like more to help you not be in that situation, to not even put yourself in a situation where you might not. And that's one of the things I remember taking away from it that was really, really phenomenal. Is it's not about how tough you are. It's not like proving that. It's don't get in the situation if you don't have to, or run away if you need to.
Absolutely. Things can happen. I mean, there's so many mishaps that can happen, even if you are a trained fighter. I don't know if you guys watch any of these MMA, UFC matches or whatnot. I happen to like them an awful lot. Look at what happened to Conor McGregor the last time he fought. Kicked another guy in the leg, snapped his shin. I mean, and this is one of the best pound for pound fighters on the planet. Trained for it, ready for it. Straight up legal fight, no weapons, not 2-on-1, nothing like that. Still has a mishap. The rest of us are in much worse shape than that. So the idea of avoiding it altogether is the best hope we have. And that's something that I really press people. Think about how to get away from that. I don't want to be in a fight, and I'm trained for it. I'm good at it, but I'm also liable. I'd have to defend myself in a legal setting. That's expensive. At the very least, that's expensive. So the best fight is the one that doesn't happen. And I'll talk about how you can kind of position yourself in such a way to avoid that. But I'll also give you guys some really easy things you could take home with you. Don't try them on your family members, but I can give you some things that you can do to make space, buy a little bit of time, and create hopefully an exit if you can't avoid the fight.
Wow, this has been awesome, and I'm excited to attend the class next Tuesday in the Olympia office. So as we get closer and wrapping up on time, Amit, we really appreciate you joining us this morning for Talent Talk, and we're looking forward to the class next week. If someone wanted to get a hold of you, maybe for some other training, do you do that outside of the classes that you do?
Sure, absolutely. And if you want, I can share my number. If you want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, maybe I could just type it right in here.
Okay, and we'll get that posted up as well for you, your information to meet.
Okay, yeah. Feel free to reach me with any questions. I'm more than happy to discuss this.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we'll put your number out there just real quick. It's 206-786-9999. If you want to call Amit and get some one-on-one tips and tricks, you are a personal trainer for I may have to call you, Amit. We may need to talk. Okay, I'm just saying.
Happy to do it.
Okay.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with your team. Please reach me with anything you need, and I look forward to seeing you a week from Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amit.
Yes, that is exactly right. Never a dull moment in class. Bye.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really looking forward to both parts. So our anticipation is we get through the part one, and then Amit will schedule the part two training as well.
The hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things I like with doing the talent talks and having the guests, or when we, and I say when we, but I mean we really do, when we like our guests as much as we do, and you know, it's a conversation, and we're just in the interaction, and he's so sincere and knowledgeable about the things that he talks about, and that shines through so incredibly well during the class. Pat was exactly right. It's energetic. It's never dull, but way more important, you walk away with things that stay with you. And when you are in situations, since it's been brought to your attention, you can't help but have a higher awareness of it. It's that whole, the reticular activating system. It gets activated because you're now aware of it. You know what to look for. So all of a sudden, you start to look for it. And it's incredible. You walk into situations differently.
Yep. And we need to
walk
be
away
reminded,
from the situation.
Right. Yeah. And we need to be reminded that we need to have those reminders because you just forget. The awareness starts to go away. So yeah, very timely.
Well, especially right now, right? We're so in real estate, agents are so busy right now. So, what are we doing? We're preparing at the last minute. We're rushing. And when we start rushing and we stop paying attention, that's when we're vulnerable.
Yep. Have the blinders on because you're just going. Yep. So good. All right. Well, I guess it's time for us to wrap. we've
Let's
got
wrap
the trivia question. So what is our trivia question? Steve?
According to a survey by the NAR, what percentage of realtors said that they experienced a situation that made them fear for their safety? Is it 10%? Was it 45%, 33%, or 50%?
We had a couple answers. One was B, one was D. Either way, it feels like it should be higher.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for D. For Donna.
D for Donna?
Donna did the same thing. She went D for Donna, 50%.
Yeah.
You know?
50%. All right.
Either way, it should be higher.
I don't know what it's C,
33%.
All right.
About a third of brokers or realtors.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Again, it's only 33% have felt like they should have feared for their safety.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
like
really, if we understood, huh?
Yeah. That's they felt that like it was a feeling.
They actually did have a fear for their safety.
Yeah.
And probably more should have had a fear for their safety. That's the issue, is they didn't, and when they probably should have.
Should have, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to walk away with Amit is not that you're going to fear for your safety so much as be aware of the potential dangers or potential indicators that something could be wrong. And the more aware you are, the more prepared you are to be able to do something about it. And again, that might be occasionally walking away from a situation that you're just unsure of, but you know, that better safe than sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good. Definitely things to think about.
Yeah.
Our life is fragile and it's not promised. And there, unfortunately, are real estate agents that have lost their lives because of malice and crime and people wanting to go and hurt and do harm. And they have, and it's one is too many. And so,
and it doesn't even need to be a loss of life. There's a broker that we know of that, was just assaulted, and they didn't lose their life or anything else, but just the assault and what that did within their psyche about all of a sudden, there was even a level of PTSD that went along with that. Gosh, I mean, it changes you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, what do we have going? We are literally past time. It's after 9 o'clock.
We are. So we always wrap up with a few items and events coming up here at John L. Scott Talent Group. So first event that we have is Career Night, which is going to be next Tuesday, September 28th. So if you're looking at getting your real estate license and want to find out what that entails and the cost, register at our website.
And that's this September 28th, right? Not just next September 28th.
This September.
I'm only playing.
This September 28th, yes. Next event is a Wednesday business meeting with John L. Scott for our John L. Scott brokers from 9 to 10 a.m. And also, we have Forums Friday, every Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. So we cover forms. This week is going to be inspections and the inspection contingency. And then we also have our Realtor Safety Class next week, Tuesday. So make sure to go in, because we had a great guest, Amit Baruch, come in and talk about it. We'd love to have you sign up. Here's the link to register for that safety class. So it's going to be a great class, 3 hours of getting to just realtor safety. So.
And Steve, so highly recommended. And Amit puts these classes on for realtors throughout the whole area. He's so incredibly knowledgeable on it, and you are absolutely guaranteed to walk away with huge value beyond what you think you're going to walk away with. You will be very, very surprised.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think the last thing we got is just the market update with Jurgen and Davina Friday.
Don't worry, it's just the market update.
It's just the market update with Jurgen and Davina. But you're going to find out everything about what's new listings coming on the market, what's going on here in our local area, and the open houses hosted by John L. Scott. Yeah. So tune in.
It's only the most important 30 minutes in their life.
Yeah. Oh, and then just also to mention, we have our Thirsty Thursday this Thursday. And it's going to be our last Thirsty Thursday of the summer. So summer is out, fall is in, and we're squeezing it in while it technically is still summer.
Or more.
So we'll do that on Thursday.
Yep.
All right.
All right. So, and then the last thing that we do is what'd you say?
I was going right where you were, which is it's time to bring it to a close.
Yes. And we use those two words about being bold and stepping outside our comfort zones and doing something great and that moves that needle forward, and to be bold and do it now. Like, that's the thing. It's be bold, but when are you going to be bold? Right now. So we are going to go out with a big be bold. And who wants to count us down on that be bold? You know, I can see in the back room, and I see Amit smiling, and I think he should count us down for our and he put his hand up. Bring Amit on. Let's bring him back in.
Yeah.
There you are. So every meeting we have, we do this proclamation, and we go out and we do 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1. Be bold, and we raise the roof wherever we are. So would you do the honor of counting us down today?
3, 2, 1. Be bold.
Be bold. Be bold.
Yay!
All right. Thank you so much, Amit. Awesome to have you. Thank everybody for showing up.
Yep. Have a great day.